Hi everyone, welcome to the Black and White Cooking Show. I'm Doris and today we're going to bake a veggie quiche. I love this quiche because I love quiche period, but I love this quiche in particular because it's great for all the vegetarians in your house or your friends who come over. Let's see, we've got, bridge clubs, book clubs, uh, your son's boyfriend home from college, the in-laws stop by. They're great for everyone. So what I've done here is I have blind baked my crust and I've put a little bit of everything but the bagel seasoning down at the bottom. I love that stuff. We use it on almost everything. We use it on fish, on chicken, on eggs. We use it in the bottom of our quiche to make it extra special and extra tasty. And anyway, I got off on a tangent there, but we have blind baked our crust. And if you have any questions about how to do that, there's a video down below that will give you step-by-step instructions. But I just do about 375 for about 15 minutes. So that's what we've done here. Now this is a little bit smaller than I would usually use. This is about an 8-inch pie crust. And actually I'll just come right here and I'll grab this 9-inch. This is a 9-inch pie pan, and I've chosen not to use it because I will show you for quiche anyway. We've got some little cracks here on the side, and I think it was in the freezer too long. And so then when I baked it, it cracked. And when I do a quiche, I know from experience that as soon as I put that egg in there, it's going to go right behind and right underneath and get all sticky under there and be just a bear to take off. So I'm not going to use that one for this. I'll use it for something different. So here I am with my 8-inch pie crust. So for the 8-inch, I'll give you measurements for both, but for the 8-inch, I'm going to use about 3/4 of a cup of eggs. For the 9-inch, I would use a whole cup. So I like to use my 4-cup measure because it's super easy. You use whatever you have at home, whether it's a bowl or whatever, just use whatever's easiest. And I use my immersion blender because I have one and it's fantastic. But use a whisk or a fork or whatever you have at home. So I'm going to go ahead and get my 3/4 of a cup of eggs. And I like to use the measurements of the eggs as opposed to how many eggs. It's probably going to be about 4 eggs, 3 to 4 eggs, because my eggs are, I'll show you, from my chickens. And my chickens are different sizes, and so are their eggs. So I never know. But get farm fresh eggs if you can. Support your local farmer whenever you can. And if you can't, just grab them from the grocery store. So I've got 2 in there. Ooh, I'm making a mess. I forgot to grab my bowl, my trash bowl. All right, so I'm going to do another big one. Whoop, wrong bowl. Look at me. And I'll do one more teeny one from right over here. So just under. That'll be just perfect. And like I said, it's about 4. This one would be about 5. And then I'm going to add just a touch of salt. Sorry, that's my dog. I guess he wanted to be in the video too. And then I'm going to go ahead and blend this for just a minute. I like to do that to go ahead and get the eggs, get a lot of air in the eggs so that they'll be nice and fluffy. So then I'm going to go back to my pie crust, and I'm going to put my fillings in. I am going to, I see that I've made a little mess. Oops. Bet that never happens to you guys. I'm going to use some already cooked and chopped up spinach. I used fresh spinach for this, but feel free to use frozen spinach or whatever you have. And the nice thing about veggie quiche is that anything goes, or quiche at all, anything goes. You can do whatever toppings your family likes. I usually make two quiches, one that's like a bacon and cheddar and one that's more of a veggie. Um, Sometimes I use broccoli or asparagus, whatever kind of cheese you've got on hand, Gruyere or Havarti even, cheddar. I use a lot of cheddar. Swiss is great for quiche Lorraine, ham. What's the other one that we use? You could do mushrooms if you like mushrooms. My family is not a big mushroom family. But so you want to just get this covered at the bottom, basically. Not completely. But I like a lot of toppings. Some people say use like half a cup of toppings or something like that. Filling, excuse me. I don't measure mine. I just chop it up and put in what I think looks yummy. So then I have caramelized onions that I have also chopped up a little bit finer than just what I do to caramelize them. And if you have questions about that, I have a fantastic video on that too. Takes a little bit of time, but boy, is it worth it. Oh, and we use these for everything also. I mean, you can use them for lots of stuff. So, we got those in there. My hands are a mess. Hold tight. All right, so now I'm gonna get my cheese in there. And I like to use feta or goat cheese for this. And I just have the feta out here, so that's what I'll do. And I'm just gonna get that nice and crumbled up in there. I love goat cheese. My husband's not quite so big a fan, so I don't use it quite as much, but it's great for quiches also. Nice and creamy. Love it. But the feta's yummy too. And you can even use an herbed goat cheese or an herbed feta as well. So here I have my fillings. You can see all that. And I'm going to rinse my hands again. So now I'm going to go back to my egg mixture. So the mixture that I like for, the ratio that I like for my eggs is about 1 to 2. Maybe a little bit more milk, but about 1 to 2. And for my dairy, excuse me, that's eggs to dairy. 1 to 2 is eggs to dairy. So for my dairy, I like to use whole milk and heavy whipping cream. I do about half and half. You can do all heavy whipping cream or all whole milk if you want. I wouldn't suggest doing something like a fat-free milk or an almond milk even, 2%, things like that. You're just not going to get the richness that you would want out of a quiche. But if that's what you have to do, that's what you have to do. All right, so here I'm going to find my little bowl. All right, so I used 3/4 of a cup of egg, and so I'm going to use 3/4 of a cup of my heavy whipping cream and 3/4 of a cup of my milk. All right, and for the salt, I just added like a pinch. Really not a lot. It's just a few eggs, so you do what you would normally do for your family for scrambled eggs. So I'm just going to whip this up. Get that all set. Make a mess on my counter. And then I'm going to pour it in. I'm going to pour it in pretty slowly because the fillings in here are pretty light. The stuff moves around and I don't want to make a big hole in something where there's no fillings. So and a lot of people don't use as much filling as I do. I really like to fill mine all the way up as much as possible. My family's the type of family who they'll have one piece and then they're done. Doesn't matter how big the piece is though. But my mother, on the other hand, is one who will take a small piece over and over and over. So I don't know what your family is like, but that's why I like to go ahead and fill mine up. And for my particular veggie quiche, I do leave it a little bit down because I like to top it with tomatoes. I use these little cherry tomatoes, and I love to do it in the summer because I have my own garden, and so I can do yellow tomatoes, orange tomatoes, red tomatoes, round tomatoes, oblong tomatoes, you know, anything. I've got so many different varieties that it's really fun to do. So I'm sorry I didn't do this before, but here we are. And I'll start putting those on. And you can make a design with it. You can just stick them on. I do suggest being a little bit careful because if they start to go under, they can go all the way under. And then it's just not as pretty. Oh, there goes one. You can make a little happy face. Happy that you made a quiche. Any day you make a quiche is a good day, right? I don't prefer getting my tomatoes from the store. They're a little bland. But you do what you gotta do. Better than nothing. All right, folks. So here is my quiche before it goes in the oven. And we're gonna do 375. I kept it at 375. And I have a sheet pan already in there underneath. So that's, I'm gonna put it on the next rack up. There we go, and I'm gonna be so careful because I'm on camera and it would be so embarrassing if I spilled it, right? But whoever knows. All right, so I made it. So I'm gonna put it in there uncovered. It's going to take about 40 to 45 minutes. You're gonna keep an eye on it. I'm gonna set my timer for 40 so that I'm sure to come back and check it. And we'll be back in a snap. And we're back. It's been about 45 minutes and it looks like it's about done. Oh, it's beautiful. All right, so take a look at that. Let me find my other rag here. All right, so it's still gonna be, I don't know if you can tell that or not. It's still just a little bit jiggly, okay? But in the middle, it's just set. And on the sides, it's gonna be a little more set. And especially with the veggie quiche, there's so much extra moisture that it's going to jiggle a little more than if you had just done something like a ham and cheese or a bacon and cheese or quiche Lorraine. So anyway, this looks just beautiful, and we will be back when we open it up. One more thing that I did want to mention is about the vegetables that we have. We used spinach in here. I had already steamed that, strained it, and what do you call it, compressed it so that all of the moisture had gotten out, or as much of the moisture as I could get out was out, so that it was as dry as possible. You want to do the same thing with something like asparagus or broccoli, some of the vegetables that have a higher water content. You want to really, really be careful about that, because your quiche is never going to set up if you have too much liquid in there. So here we are, and we need to, before we use this, we need to let it cool for, usually takes between an hour and two, depending on how cool it is in your place, or, you know, if it's on a cooling rack and things like that. So we'll be back in about an hour and we'll cut into it, and I bet it'll be delicious. All right, folks, here we are back, and you might notice that this particular quiche does not have any tomatoes on it. I had to swap because someone called meanwhile and wanted to buy my Veggie Quiche, which I usually have the tomatoes on top of, so they're going to come by and pick that up. So I swapped it for another one that I was making with no tomatoes for my family, because not everyone likes tomatoes here. So I promise I did all the same things. It's the bigger one that I was cooking, and we're just gonna cut right into this. The crust got a little bit overdone on this one. If that happens to you, you see the crust browning a little too much, just put some foil over it. Make a little foil ring. They make like silicone things like that also, but anyway, I just use a little foil, and this one is actually sticking to the sides a little bit. That's not helpful. Oh, but not on the bottom. So we're good to go. I'm glad I wasn't selling this one. That looks delicious. Look at that. That texture is just perfect in the middle, and it's a little bit firmer on the outsides. If you don't like it quite this jiggly, I completely get it. My husband doesn't either. But go ahead and just another 3 minutes in the oven, we'll firm it up a little more. Oh, I love those caramelized onions. I could do those on anything. And the spinach goes so well with the feta. It's really, really delicious, guys. Give it a shot. And don't forget to subscribe. We've got some really fun videos coming up, and tune back soon.